Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. So wish I could be with you all today. I need that hug and, remembering our dear, dear Roger Cornish. But I'm in New York visiting my ailing mother-in-law, and I know what Roger would say. Roger would say, you got to be with family. And so I'm here with you through video, and how fitting for this year, right? And I'm here with you through video. I want to tell you a few Roger Cornishisms from the past and also from just the last few weeks. Just want to share them with you. And I had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with Roger the last several weeks, so I even have some from the last few weeks. When my father first told me about an anchor opening in Wichita in 1983, he said, I really think you'll like the male anchor there. He's sort of a blonde Christopher Reeve. So sure enough, when I went for the interview, here was a blonde Christopher Reeve standing before me. But, I soon came to realize he not only looked like the guy who played Superman, but he kind of acted like Superman where his mind was concerned. The guy could remember anything. And they were like semi-useless factoids like, Susan, do you know who won the Indianapolis 500 in 1976? Well, no, Roger, but I'm sure you're going to tell me. I mean, little things like that. Or, Sue, he was always doing this. Do you know what we were doing, Sue, 3 years ago to this very minute? No, Roger, but I'm sure you remember. Oh, yeah, it was our first live shot from the Wichita River Festival. I mean, all the time. He'd remember dates like unbelievable. And these factoids, they were somewhat useless, like, Sue, you know what the circumference is of the world's largest ball of twine? They were usually about Kansas. Or, do you know how deep, I'll never forget this, you know how deep the deepest hand-dug well is in the whole entire world? No, Roger, but I'm sure you're going to tell me. I still don't remember, but I know he told me one time. Or do you know how long it's going to take us to get to Dodge City Days? It's going to take us exactly 2 hours and 34 minutes to get to Dodge City. And by the way, when we're at Dodge City Days, Roger would say, the first Dodge City Days was in 1960. Okay, Roger. And it was 75 cents to get in. Okay, Roger. Little factoids that he just knew, just like that. But the best part about this was he would provide me, he had my back, he would provide me with useful facts, like say when we're on live coverage of a tornado for hours on end. And he would actually, during the commercials, remember facts about tornadoes of the past, like how long the longest tracking tornado was in Kansas, and where was the last big EF5. And he would give me these little bits of information to say on the air so that when we came out of the commercial, I would look intelligent. Not him, I would look intelligent. But he was very, very unselfish that way. Very unselfish, and he tried to make the other person look good. Whoever he was on TV with, he gave the other person kind of like a platform. He was very, very good that way. Which brings me to his other trait, his incredible sense of humor. But he always had impeccable timing. Okay, we'd be during a commercial, the whole commercial break would go, and the floor director would say, stand by, Sue. And I'd stand by, and Roger would say a funny line right then. And then the floor director would cue me to camera 2, and I would have to come out and try not to laugh hysterically because Roger said something funny. Usually, fortunately, these were at the end of the newscast when we aired what was called a kicker, which is like a 30-second story that we said, despite what we've told you the last 30 minutes, everything's going to be all right with the world. I'll never forget one time It was a kicker story. We had video of Farmer John. Farmer John was walking like this, and Farmer John was holding two big tomatoes. Farmer John had won biggest tomatoes at the Iowa State Fair. Okay, so that was a story. So Farmer John was walking like this, and I'm saying, and Farmer John from so-and-so, Iowa, won biggest tomatoes at the Kansas State Fair. Well, these tomatoes were huge, but they were deformed. So we come out of the video and Roger says, you know, Sue, those tomatoes were normal until the nuclear accident at Chernobyl. I laughed, and then he went on to say, of course, Farmer John was normal then too. What do you say? And the funniest part was, or not the funniest part, okay, so he'd say something really, really funny, okay? And I would laugh uncontrollably, like I couldn't stop laughing. And Roger would say to viewers, okay, viewers, it's all over now. It's all over now. Pretty soon it's going to be Furball City. He said I laughed like I had furballs. And he would tell every single viewer that. It's going to be a while, viewer. It's going to be Furball City now. Did I laugh that way? I didn't think I did. I talked several times in the last several weeks to Roger about how our 7 years together at Channel 12 could only be described as magic. In fact, everyone at the Channel 12 back then says the same thing, like it all came together, it clicked, and Roger had the joy of going from number 3 in the ratings to number 1 in a year and a half. And it made him so proud. Roger Cornish loved KWCH, loved Channel 12. He was on it when it was KTVH. He loved that TV station. I'll never forget. He called me in the morning one morning. When he called me up, he goes, Sue, you're never going to believe this. The ratings just came out. We're number 1. It only took us a year and a half. He was so proud. And guess what? He should have been proud. You know why? A lot of that quick climb to the top is because of Roger Cornish. He knew how to make the rest of the news team look good. He knew how to add just the right amount of authority and the right amount of sense of humor to make the newscast, well, the best in Wichita. I've told Roger this over the years, and I told him several times over the last couple of days. I've anchored in 3 different places, including San Diego, a big market. Roger Cornish is absolutely the best co-anchor there is. Because, like I said, he knew how to make others look good. He knew how to feed them maybe a line or feed them just anything to make them look good. And that's what makes a team. He made the best anchor team ever. He was not only a coworker, though, he was a good friend. I can't tell you. We would lean on each other, talk to each other about everything. And we were in our 20s. We were having growing pains. That poor guy listened to story after story about the woeful life of a single woman in Wichita. Poor Roger. And you know how he'd respond? Well, I'm sure glad I have my family. Bragged about his family all the time. Maybe about the latest thing Chad would do, or when Nikki was born, how excited he was to have a little girl. Talked about his family all the time. And his wife, Juanetta. Juanetta was it. Juanetta is it for Roger. Talked about you, Juanetta, all the time. That you gave up a modeling career to marry him because, in both of your words, there could only be one famous person in the family. Talked about that all the time. She could have been a model and she married me. about how pretty you are. Everything about Juanetta he loved. In fact, one story that he told over and over and over again. Every year when the Kansas State Fair came around, Roger would say, Susan, did I ever tell you that Juanetta and I had our first date at the state fair? I would say, no, Roger, tell me about it. He said, we went for a ride in the ride called the Old Mill, where you go through the old mill and it's dark. I think Roger called it maybe the Tunnel of Love, because he said, in that ride in the old mill, that's where we fell in love. That's where Juanetta and I fell in love. And Juanetta, he told that story every single September when the state fair came around, not only to me, but to everyone in the newsroom. Another thing about you, Juanetta, is something I'll never forget. I was moaning and groaning about all the horrible dates I had to go on. And Roger comes back with, well, I'm sorry, Sue, but if he said this once, he said it a million times. You know what my favorite thing in the world to do is, Sue? And I said, no, what? He said, I just love going out to dinner with my wife. I just love going out to dinner with her. There's something about going out to dinner with her. Well, he told me that several times. That was his favorite thing on the weekend to do. And I know one of his last wishes was to go out to one last dinner with you, Juanetta, but God chose to take him before that could happen. But a former Channel 12 co-worker, Rhonda Lackey, and I had the greatest privilege of spending the whole day with Roger on his last day on earth. We reminisced with funny stories and meaningful times, and we shared a few tears and a lot of prayers. I know he could hear us. Both of us know he could hear us. I've been reading comments from viewers on Facebook the last several days, and I want you to know that Rhonda and I had the chance to tell Roger that last day almost everything that you all are saying, that you grew up with Roger Cornish, that he's a mainstay in Wichita, that you love Roger Cornish. All these comments, we had the chance to tell him on his last day on earth. And I know he heard us. I know he heard us. Every once in a while, he would blink an eye, or he would open his eyes, or he'd turn to where we were, or he would raise his hand. And then when we'd say something funny, he'd kind of grunt like he was laughing. I know he heard us. I know he heard everything. So I want everyone who didn't get the chance to tell him everything that they wanted to, even viewers, especially viewers, that Rhonda and I had a chance to tell Roger how much he was loved by this community. And he knows that, and he knew it after that. Roger always told jokes and played jokes. And I think the very last day, I think the joke was on me, and I think Roger knew the joke was on me. Before I left Roger that evening, we had been talking to him all day. He never smiled. He would just open an eye or lift an arm or whatever. Anyway, before I left him that day, I bent down and I said, Roger, Susan, I will see you tomorrow. Not kidding. Hugest smile came across his face. Hugest smile. And right then I knew Roger wasn't smiling because he was thinking, oh, I'll see you tomorrow. Roger was smiling because he was thinking, joke's on you. by tomorrow, I'm going to be in heaven. That's exactly what happened. And I am confident that that is where the funny, charismatic, unselfish, self-deprecating, loving Roger Cornish is right now. He is in heaven. He is making the angels laugh, and he's asking God, hey, Lord, do you know how big the largest ball of twine is? We love you, Roger. We'll miss you forever.